on Tuesday. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Brian Thompson on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
It is cloudy throughout the region, 54 in St. Peter's, 56 in Florissant, 54 downtown at the Arch. I'm Scott Jagow, KMOX News.
From KMOX Sports, this is the Gray Bar Sports on a Sunday morning. Gray Bar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. Now from the Stifel Financial Sports Studio, here is Tom Ackerman.
No Tom Ackerman this morning. My name's Matt Pauley, filling in for Tom. I believe he'll be back next week. You normally hear me hosting Sports Open Line and also Rush Hour Sports Monday through Friday between 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock, but happy to be with you a little earlier than you normally hear my voice. And we've got quite the program coming up over the next hour and a half or so. We're done early today because we've got an NFL doubleheader today here on KMOX. Our first game is going to be the Giants and the Eagles, and then our second game today is going to be the Broncos and the Cowboys. So a full day of football, and then tomorrow we'll have Monday Night Football with the Chiefs in action against Washington. Tomorrow our coverage will begin at 6 o'clock. Here's what we've got coming up on the program today. In about 10 minutes or so, we are going to be joined by Bernie Miklasz, weekly conversation that he has here on Sports on a Sunday morning. Then later on this hour, Derek Peterson from Saturday Down South will join us. We'll talk through what happened with Missouri football yesterday and where they go moving forward, as it would appear that Bo Pribula is not going to be available, at least for the rest of the regular season. And Russell Baxter is going to join us at the end of this hour. We'll preview today's NFL slate. Next hour, we're going to give you a little taste of what Rush Hour Sports generally sounds like Monday through Friday, as Kevin Wheeler, who I do that show with, he's going to join us. We'll talk some baseball, some World Series, and then we'll wrap up the show today with Cardinals President of Baseball Operations, Chaim Bloom. He is scheduled to join us at about 11:15. Yesterday was a terrible sports day in the area. It was just absolutely terrible. I would like to be able to put some lipstick on it, but I really can't. From a college football standpoint, you had two big games with Missouri and Illinois, both playing games that really mattered in a very big way. Neither team wins. For Missouri, they have an opportunity to knock off a top 10 team on the road in Vanderbilt. Not only do they lose the game, they lose Bo Pribula. And like I said a moment ago, he is done for the rest of the regular season based off reporting that is out there. We'll see whether or not he could potentially return for a bowl game, or if this team still sneaks in to the college football playoff, which is not an impossibility, but at this point also is not a likely outcome. But we heard from Coach Drinkwitz after the game yesterday, and he very clearly said that while this team might not be playing for a conference championship anymore, they still believe that there is a path to them getting to the college football playoff. And there is a path. There is a path. You can't lose again, and it's going to include a win against a Texas A&M team that's currently ranked number 3 in the nation and looked awesome yesterday, and going to Oklahoma and winning against the Sooners in Norman. If you can pull that off, in addition to wins against Mississippi State and Arkansas, yeah, there is definitely a door that you can still walk through to get to the college football playoff. But running the table over these final 4 games of the season looks incredibly challenging with that Texas A&M and that Oklahoma game still on the schedule. I guess if I mentioned the lipstick on the pig, if you want to find a positive out of yesterday's game, first off, Tigers really fought, and I know you don't get any points for that, but it was good to see they made that game interesting. And even when they got the ball back late, basically they lose that game by 1 yard yesterday, as that final play that goes to review ends up just the 1 yard short. But Matt Zollers looked good. 14 of 23, 138 yards, 1 touchdown. This is a guy that I think people in the program are excited about, maybe seeing him a little bit earlier than you would like to see him, but this is going to be his team here moving forward. So that was the Missouri story. The Illinois story, if we want to talk in terms of college football playoff for them, which it was always a tougher road for them just based off where they were at, but yesterday probably closes that door. They lose at Washington, and they lose by a wide margin, 42-25 ends up being the final score. So it's their third loss of the year. Their first 2 losses, nothing to be ashamed about. They lost at Indiana. Now they lost by a ton, but they lost at Indiana. And then they lost at home to Ohio State, the number 1 team in the nation. That was not quite as one-sided as the Indiana matchup, but you could look at those two games and see who they were matched up against. Yesterday was really the final opportunity for them to show out against a pretty good team, and they end up getting beat handedly by Washington. And now the rest of the schedule, there's just not a game the rest of the way that really gets you excited in Rutgers, Maryland, Wisconsin, and Northwestern. And then you have the St. Louis Blues, who are really struggling right now. They're giving up a ton of goals. They had not lost a game, though, on the road this year. Finally back on the road. They go into Detroit. They get up 4-0. They have a 4-0 lead in the second period. And what goes on to happen after that? They give up 6 unanswered goals. Admittedly, the final goal was an empty netter, but they give up 6 unanswered. They give up 3 goals in both the second and third periods after being up 4-0, and they end up losing 6-4. And the struggles absolutely are continuing here in the early season for the Blues, giving up way too many goals. They've lost 3 in a row. They've lost 4 of their last 5. It was just, you were feeling great about things. And 3 minutes into the second period, it's a game where Jake Neighbors had scored twice, and you'd gotten power play goals from Jordan Kyrou and Pavel Buchnevich. And then the wheels just start to come off after that. And it was a really disappointing performance. And the Blues are going to match up against a Pittsburgh team that is really playing some good hockey. This is an interesting quick road trip for them because you look at the Red Wings and the Penguins. They each have really good records to start the season. Neither team is probably as good as their record would indicate, but right now they're playing good hockey when you don't want to match up against them. And that's what they've got. Red Wings yesterday, Penguins coming up tomorrow. So that runs down your St. Louis sports day for the most part. And it was just not good. It was a very, very tough day, whether you're a Blues fan, a Mizzou fan, an Illinois fan. Not a great day yesterday by any stretch of the mind. We are going to take a break, and when we return, we're going to get the thoughts of Bernie Miklasz. We'll get his thoughts on that day. We'll go through all 3 of those teams, Missouri, Illinois, and the Blues, and see what he has to think about all of those and what they mean for those programs and for those teams moving forward. Bernie Miklasz joins us in just a moment or so. Don't go anywhere. You are listening to a Gray Bar Sports on a Sunday morning right here on KMOX.
Your home for St. Louis Cardinals baseball. 104.1 FM. KMOX.
Hi, this is Charlie Brennan. Did you know that warmer weather can have an impact on people with dry eye and who experience itchy, scratchy eyes? The heat makes tear production more important. Tears are essential for overall eye health and clear vision. Without good tear production, our eyes can become inflamed, irritated, and damaged. And those conditions can sometimes be difficult to reverse. It's important to see the doctors at Ophthalmology Associates if you're experiencing any eye discomfort due to the weather. Call today at 314-966-5000. Make an appointment with Doctors Greg Birdie, Ranjan Malhotra, Robert Brusati, and Andrew Royer. They're known as the doctor's doctors because more than 250 local doctors are their patients. In Sullivan, St. Peter's, and at their main headquarters, 270 in Manchester. Call 314-966-5000 or online, youridoc.com.
Join Book Chat with Debbie Monterey and St. Louis Public Library on Facebook today if you're not already a member, because if you're a fan of bones, this one's for you. I'll be interviewing Kathy Reichs. That's Dr. Kathy Reichs, the brilliant mind behind Temperance Brennan and producer of the hit TV series Bones. Her best-selling novels have been called Brilliant, Terrifying, and Gripping. Evil Bones is the latest, and I'll be interviewing her at noon on Tuesday only for Book Chat members and friends of St. Louis Public Library, slpl.org.
DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is coming soon to the Show Me State. New Missouri customers can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today. And when we go live, place just a $5 bet to unlock $300 in bonus bets. Starting November 17th, you can create your DraftKings Sportsbook account in Missouri and get ready for launch day on December 1st. DraftKings Sportsbook brings you everything you need to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning-fast payouts, and find endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when we go live December 1st. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and over. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. Ever wonder why Big Wireless wants you on an unlimited plan? They probably want you to cover the cost of those 20-somethings using all that data every month. But most people 50 and up like me only use 12 gigs or less. Don't get bamboozled by Big Wireless. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Our plans start at just $20, and we use the same towers as the big guys. Join the millions who choose something better, because if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM. Visit consumercellular.com/facts or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Nobody had to tell your grandparents not to drive while using their typewriters. Why should it be any different for us kids and our cell phones? Distracted driving was the cause of more than 3,000 deaths in 2022. Come on, we're smarter than this. Let's put down the phones and focus on the roads. Drive safe, everybody.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Now, back to the Gray Bar Sports on a Sunday morning on 104.1 KMOX. From the Stifel Financial Sports Studio, here is Tom Ackerman.
Tom's got the morning off. My name's Matt Pauley. Great to be with you. Also great to be able to talk with Bernie Miklas. Our conversation being brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin dealer. Bernie, a good Sunday morning to you. Not a good Sunday morning for a lot of St. Louis sports fans after Missouri, Illinois, and the Blues all had unfortunate days yesterday. Did we lose Bernie? We will try to get Bernie back here in just a moment or so. And if we need to, we can just give him a call even and get him on the phone. We need to do that. So we will try to reconnect with Bernie here. And,
hello.
Bernie, we got you.
Yeah.
All right.
It was weird. Yeah. I apologize, man. I was connected and all of a sudden it cut out. I apologize for the confusion.
Not a problem at all. We're glad to be able to talk with you. I was just mentioning terrible sports day in the area yesterday with Missouri, Illinois, and the Blues. I mean, it was just as bad as it could get.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say about the Blues anymore. So we'll just wait for them to get straightened out. I mean, seriously, it's a long season. You know, the other two teams, Illinois and Mizzou, you know, I really thought Illinois would go to Washington and win that game. I mean, after all, the Illini were ranked 23rd going in. Washington's okay. They have a really good quarterback. But, you know, the end of the line for the Illini and Brett Bielema this year is their defense, as you know, and I think our listeners who pay some attention to Illinois know, the Illini defense was really, really hyped. Everyone was saying, I mean, this team's got a chance to, you know, get into the playoff because their defense is returning all these players and their defense is great. The defense has not been that great. And yesterday, I think that brought it home. You know, Washington had 449 yards. They ran for 160. They passed for nearly 300. Williams, the Washington quarterback, carved them up, and it was just almost like a no contest. So it's very disappointing for the Illini. Mizzou, what can you say, right? The game was there, and I know they had some adversity with penalties and also Bo Pribula getting hurt, but you know me, Mr. Numbers, and I was diving into some stuff today. You know, Matt Zollers, the kid who had not played basically at all, 6 passes in garbage time earlier in the season. I thought he was outstanding yesterday. I thought I did not expect much. He showed no signs of the moment being too big or being freaked out. Yeah, okay, he had an intentional grounding. So what? He played very, very well, and I don't know what that means for the rest of the year because I doubt that Mizzou will run the table. But the two takeaways, you know, the Mizzou offense in general, but especially with Pribula in there, was just simply not good enough. It was really ineffective. And when Zollers went in, they at least had a downfield passing attack. They had a drop back passing attack, which they haven't had all year. But the other takeaway is that the Mizzou defense, I know they gave up a long run, but they deserved better. They played great in that game. They stopped Pavia in a way that teams have not done the last 2 years. And that was a missed opportunity. So now Mizzou's going to have to run the table to even talk about it. See, that to me, there's nothing to talk about. They'll play Texas A&M a week from Saturday, and then we'll see how they do. But if they beat Texas A&M, then we can talk about the playoffs, because there's really no reason to lay out the rest of the season. The next game is against a team that's going to be very tough to beat. Let's see how Mizzou does.
Have you let Vanderbilt score late to get more time on the clock to get the ball back?
That's a good idea. Yeah. Why not? They probably were going to get in there anyway, all things considered. And because they were set up so nicely. But yeah, just to give the kid more time on the clock, because he just kept coming and coming and coming and coming and coming. I mean, I just, all right, people are going to laugh at me when I say this. And the people that know me should know I don't just spout stuff off. I actually back it up. The best quarterback in that game yesterday was Matt Zollers.
He
was.
He was impressive. I have a hard time arguing against you based off the numbers that we saw in that game. I would be curious to see what he looks like when a defense has time to prepare for him.
Yeah, but that's an entirely different thing. I agree with you. But that's a whole different subject. Texas A&M, especially their great coach defensively, they'll have all things waiting for them. I'm talking about yesterday. If you go by passer rating, if you go by expected points added, you go by all these other things. The best quarterback on the field yesterday throwing the ball was Matt Zollers. That's a fact. It's not an opinion.
Yeah, no, Pavia's 10 of 19, 129 yards with an interception. That was not a good performance from Diego Pavia. And that's coming off him, popping off about he deserves to be the Heisman Trophy winner.
And he said it again after the game. You know what his rating was in that game? 52.3. You know what Zollers' rating was in that game? It was 93.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid, I know it's a terrible thing that they lost the game, and we certainly didn't want to see Prabula get hurt. But coming out of it, and the day after, you're always supposed to look ahead. And coming out of it, I'm like, this is exciting to see that they actually have a dude that can be a quarterback, and they threw him in the fire, and he handled himself great. There will be many, many tests ahead, but he was a highly recruited guy. It's not like Matt Zollers is some bum that walked off the street, so to speak.
It also potentially sets you up for the future, because you never really know with these, if there's not a pathway for a quarterback or any position player, any player to walk, to have playing time, they might look to greener pastures. Maybe this does set things up a little bit better for the future for Mizzou.
Yeah, and I think it's a valuable thing that he'll get a chance to play. And these are big games because Mizzou technically still has a chance. And they certainly want to win games just to have a good season. So I'm very intrigued what we'll see, but I agree with the point you threw in there, a couple minutes ago, which is, start with Texas A&M. They're going to throw looks at him he's probably never seen before, so that'll be yet another test and a big one.
This does go back to the kind of the tired narrative, which I don't agree with, but we're going to hear anytime Missouri has one of these big opportunities to get a really big win that carries some weight, they come up short in these opportunities. And this is another example of that.
Not all of this is Eli Drinkwitz, of course. This goes back a while. It might be since Mizzou joined the SEC. But with that loss yesterday, Mizzou has lost 19 out of 20 games to top 10 SEC teams. And I think that's on the road. And, the history speaks for itself. I mean, that's about it. When they go away from Columbia, they have a hard time. It's not like they beat up on top 10 teams in Columbia, but 19 out of 20 against top 10 teams on the road. I think that pretty much speaks for itself, right?
It does. And I think it's okay to have these conversations, Bernie, because what it means is we're holding Missouri to a higher standard. Drink comes in, lifts the program to a certain level. There can be expectations that, you should go into Vanderbilt and you should find a way to win that game. You should find a way to beat Alabama last week at home. Like the program's at a point where some of these games need to be wins, and unfortunately, they're not wins yet.
I agree with you 100%. And there's only so many of these opportunities can go by, where you try to write it off for something. I'll give you an example, and I don't know how you felt about it. I was really turned off by Drinkwitz talking about the penalties and basically implying, he didn't say it, he was strongly implying they got some kind of raw deal. Give me a break. All the red zone opportunities you had, all the situations you had where you could have scored with your starting quarterback. I mean, you have a 1st and goal to 2, and no one on that coaching staff has got to play to get 2 yards, right? I don't want to hear about officiating. When you go in there, there was at one point right before the half where Mizzou had like 4 yards passing. And I know, listen, man, respect to Vanderbilt. They have a really good defense. Don't get me wrong. But the inability to throw the ball downfield, and then again, when you get down there in a game like that, which is a slugfest, and you can't score, you got 4 shots to score from the 2-yard line, and coach talking about officials calls. Give me a break.
He is Bernie Miklasz. Bernie, always good to be able to talk to you. We'll have you on Rush Hour Sports coming up on Monday for the whole hour.
Oh, all right, my friend. Thank you, Matt.
All right, very good. That's Bernie Miklasz joining us here on the show. We'll keep the Mizzou football conversation going. Derek Peterson, who covers the SEC for Saturday Down South, he joins us in just a moment here on Sports on a Sunday morning on KMOX.
St. Louis, meet your new favorite way to start the day. The Chris and Amy Show. It's not the same old talk. It's fresh, it's different, and it's local. Chris and Amy dig into the news that matters, but they also keep it light, keep it fun, and keep you smiling. Serious when it needs to be, silly when it can be. That's pure entertainment with a local heartbeat. The Chris and Amy Show. Weekdays at 9 on the voice of St. Louis. 104.1 FM. KMOX.
You've got your whole life ahead of you. So choose a Medicare plan you can count on. And that's what you get with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. With more than 45 years experience serving its members, United Healthcare has plans with low monthly premiums that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th. So go to uhc.com/Medicare today. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage Missouri can count on.
KMOX Weekend at your service, sponsored by Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation.
It's Tom Ackerman for Ophthalmology Associates, the doctor's doctors, 314-966-5000 or online at youridoc.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-9834. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-9834. That's 800-575-9834. Tax Relief Advocates, real solutions for real people.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends at Zero Res. So they've been with me for 15 plus years. We've had a lot of seasons together. So it is officially fall now. It's spooky season. You've got Halloween coming up. You have people coming over. It is time to nest for the winter and the holidays. In other words, it's a great time to get your carpets cleaned, to get your furniture clean, to get your air ducts clean, and your dryer vent clean. You can do do all of those very reasonably. There's always a DGS special. This month, it is 3 months of carpet clean starting at $129. That's a $40 savings, 15% off your air duct and dryer vent cleaning. The guys do a great job. They've been out to my house half a dozen times, maybe more than that. They work their butts off. They're professional. They are courteous. Call 314-474-2020. You can also book online at ZeroResSTL.com, 314-474-2020, ZeroResSTL.com.
Now, back to the Gray Bar Sports on a Sunday morning on 104.1 KMOX. From the Stifel Financial Sports Studio, here is Tom Ackerman.
No Tom Ackerman this week. My name's Matt Pauley. I've got you till for another hour or so. We'll take you till 11:30 today, and then we'll get you into coverage of the Giants and the Eagles. Still on the way. We're going to talk with Russell Baxter later on this hour, all things NFL. Next hour, Kevin Wheeler. We'll talk baseball. And also Cardinals president of baseball operations, Chaim Bloom, is going to join us at 11:15 right now. Happy to go back to the guest line. You read him at Saturday Down South covering SEC football, including Mizzou. He is Derek Peterson. Derek, thank you for taking some time. Good morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. How are you?
I'm good. So yesterday, an unfortunate result for Missouri in that they lose to Vanderbilt, an opportunity for the Tigers to get a top 10 road win. They can't do that. And they also lose their quarterback, Bo Pribula, who is evidently going to be out for at least the rest of the regular season. There's a possibility he could be around for the postseason, depending on where Missouri goes. But speaking of that, where does Missouri go now with a couple losses in the SEC and moving away from Pribula at quarterback, at least for the time being?
Yeah, I mean, so you're 6-2 on the year. Seems like recently there's been quite a bit of discourse from talking heads, specifically on ESPN, which, we got to take with a grain of salt, that a 3-loss SEC team would be more deserving of a college football playoff spot than a 2-loss or a 1-loss team from another conference. I personally think that the ACC is atrocious this year. I personally think that the bottom of the Big Ten is really, really, really bad. I'm curious what happens with the non-Texas Tech teams in the Big 12. So it's possible that the SEC could have 4 teams in the playoff. It's possible that a 3-loss SEC team could get into the playoff. But what we saw last year was that they just weren't willing to go that far when it came to regular season defeats. And so what we have to go on is that 3 losses is really the cutoff. So you look at where Mizzou's at, they play Texas A&M next week. It's their next game. And they have a bye next week, They have Texas A&M in 2 weeks. I don't know who's beating Texas A&M right now. I don't, if you could play Texas A&M next week, maybe you get them off of an emotional high winning at LSU, and maybe you can kind of sneak up on them a little bit. But Texas A&M to me is the best team in the SEC right now. I just don't know, especially with a backup quarterback, what you're going to be able to do against that. So if you just chalk that up as a loss, you got to go 3-0 against Mississippi State, Oklahoma, and Arkansas to give yourself a puncher's chance to get into the playoff. And you got to hope that a bunch of chaos happens elsewhere. You could absolutely go 3-0 against Mississippi State, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, regardless of who your quarterback is. I think Missouri's defense is that good. I think Arkansas is a mess. I think Oklahoma's offense is a mess. Mississippi State's pretty good, but that game's at home. So I don't think Missouri's dead in the college football playoff discussion. Not yet, especially when you look at, the losses that they have. It's a 3-point loss to Alabama, which will get into the playoff, and it's a 7-point loss on the road with a backup quarterback to a Vanderbilt team that honestly might get into the playoff. If you're only 3 losses, assuming a loss to Texas A&M, if you're only 3 losses are to teams that are like top 10 seeds in the playoff, like top 8 seeds in the playoff, how do you deny that team?
And not to cut you off, but there's going to be there's always the sticker decal belief where maybe the committee, if Alabama's got 3 losses, if Georgia's got 3 losses, well, then yeah, sure, they're going to get in. But I think a lot of people around Missouri worried about the idea, would the committee give Missouri as a 3-loss team an opportunity to get in the college football playoff?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a fair concern. On the broadcast yesterday, they were talking about, Mizzou opening the season with, sitting outside the AP poll, and despite being an SEC team that had 10 wins in back-to-back years, and the point was made that if it was a Georgia or an Alabama with back-to-back 10, they'd be a top 15 team. And I thought that point was great. I loved that they made that point, because I think Missouri's been disrespected on the national stage over the last few years, just based on what Drink has been able to do with them. They're one of the winningest programs in the country over the last 3 years. And also they've been one of the best teams against the spread over the last 3 years for people that care about things like that. Like that points to how they perform against expectations. And I would imagine, like, if I was sitting on the committee, I wouldn't, it wouldn't be a deal breaker for me, but it's something that I would be like, they're outperforming expectations more often than not. So it's a legitimate concern. But at the same time, if you're a 9-win SEC team sitting there at the end, I think there's going to be a case for it. And I think Missouri has helped itself with, you can only play the schedule that you play, right? And they beat the snot out of the teams that they were supposed to kill earlier in the season. And they've fought close games with the top teams in the conference. I mean, a 3-point loss to Alabama, that was a close game. That was a coin flip game. Exactly what the scoreboard said it was. 7-point loss to Vanderbilt, that was another close game. It was a coin flip game. And they did it with a backup quarterback for the entire second half on the road. So I think, it's a fair concern, but at the end of the day, I think I think it'll just be. I think Mizzou has done itself enough favors in the games that it has won. If it continues to play out that way, like if they beat Mississippi State, if they go on the road and they beat Oklahoma, if they handle Arkansas at the end of the year and just don't get obliterated by Texas A&M, it's a good resume, I think.
Yesterday around the SEC, it was a weird day. You didn't expect LSU to beat Texas A&M, but they just got absolutely run off the field. Alabama could have easily lost at South Carolina. I don't know how Texas came back to win at Mississippi State. They were down big in that game. Auburn finally gets their first win, and it happens on the road against an Arkansas team that's in all kinds of shambles right now. Just a very interesting day yesterday in the SEC as we still continue to try to kind of put a personality and identity traits to all of these teams.
Yeah. Kentucky scored 34 points on Tennessee. Ole Miss scored 34 points on Oklahoma's defense. 22 in the first half. Excuse me. I think what we've seen in the SEC this year is that the gap between the elite teams in the league and the middle tier, and then the gap between the middle tier and the bottom tier, has just completely evaporated. The difference between all these teams is just so marginal. At this point, you don't really have an elite team. And, a lot of people thought that was Alabama, especially given the way that they had been playing over recent weeks. And Alabama was my national title pick coming into the season. I picked them to win the SEC and go on and have a good run in the playoffs. But Alabama struggles against the run at times. Oklahoma doesn't have an offense really. Missouri now has a backup quarterback, and Missouri has had some kicking issues throughout the year because of injuries. Vanderbilt's defense is gettable. Tennessee's defense is kind of laughable. Texas is whatever the heck Texas is. Georgia doesn't scare anyone right now. There used to be such stratification in the SEC. Like Georgia would play the bottom teams and it would just kill them. Alabama, when it was rolling under Nick Saban, would play the bottom teams and it would just kill them. And when you got the matchups between the top teams, you weren't really sure what you were going to get. But when you got matchups against everybody else, you kind of knew what was going to happen. You just kind of don't really know what's going to happen right now. The transfer portal, NIL, some of the other changes in college football have smoothed things out a lot. I mean, Vanderbilt's sitting here at 7-1. They're a top 10 team. If they beat Texas, they're a lock to make the playoff, which is absolutely insane to think about.
Yeah.
I just think anything can happen any given Saturday. And at this point right now, I don't know who's going to win the SEC, and I don't know who's going to even play for the SEC title. Texas A&M, Alabama, Ole Miss, Vandy all have one or fewer losses. And then there's Georgia in the mix as well. And it's exciting to say that, but it's wild to think about that here we are it's about to be November 1st. And do you know who's going to play in Atlanta for the SEC title game? I don't.
No, absolutely not. Not yet. He is Derek Peterson. You read him at Saturday Down South. If you're not familiar with Saturday Down South, it's SaturdayDownSouth.com. They do great coverage of the league, and then they also have coverage of every single team. Each team in the SEC has its own team site there at Saturday Down South, so you can keep up to date on everything going on across the league. They also have some sister sites for some of the other leagues, including Saturday Tradition covering the Big Ten. Derek, thank you so much for taking some time with us today. Hopefully we can chat again with you down the line.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on.
All right, very good. That is Derek Peterson joining us on the program as we talk a little bit about what's going on with Mizzou. Tough loss, but I think the way you listen to him talk, and there's still a pathway. I would be fascinated, absolutely fascinated, if Missouri, let's say they win 3 of their final 4, and their one loss is Texas A&M, and it's a tight loss at home, which that is a plausible scenario. The tough one there is going to be going and winning at Oklahoma. That's going to be a challenge, even with Oklahoma losing yesterday. That's a good Oklahoma team, played in Norman, not easy. But if they win 3 of their final 4, if they finish with 3 losses, and their losses are to Alabama, Vanderbilt, and Texas A&M, that's a resume that there's going to be a lot of people saying should be good enough for the college football playoff. They have to do their job first, but that would be a resume that people would be clamoring for, should be in there. All right, we are going to talk some pro football. Russell Baxter, the pro football guru, he is going to join us in just a moment or so, go through a full slate of games today. That's up next. This is a Sports on a Sunday morning right here on KMOX.
Hi, I'm Jim Brennan with McKelvey Homes. McKelvey is on the move with 3 new communities and prime locations opening soon. The early bird gets the worm, so get your pick of the home sites and the best prices first. Join our VIP list at McKelveyHomes.com. Strawberry Farms is located on Mexico Road east of Highway K from the 480s. Post Farms on Highway N near Duello Road from the 540s, or the Reserve in Wildwood at Highways 109 and 100 from $560,000 to $1 million plus. It's a great time to move up to McKelvey.
Red Kingdom is back at FanDuel Sports Network Live in Ballpark Village. See every game on the largest screen in town. Don't forget about the $25 buckets, $5 cocktails, and the best tailgate food around. Grab your friends along with KMOX and huddle up for the games at the best watch party in town. If you can't make it, but don't want to miss it down, listen to the Chiefs on KMOX or KMOX on the Odyssey app. For more info, KMOX.com/events.
Let me tell you about this new pretzel cheddar club. Hey, I'm Carlos.
And I'm Ebony. And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Pretzel Cheddar Club
is the tangy Dijon with the pretzel bun. It takes it to a whole nother level.
It goes perfectly with the chicken and the cheddar cheese and the bacon.
Man, you know how much you love bacon. And I love the different varieties. Grilled, spicy, original. It gets you nice and excited for fall.
Order the Pretzel Cheddar Club with Cherry Berry and Sprite for a limited time on the Chick-fil-A app. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
There's nothing like when you get that part from eBay and it just fits. Yeah, the first time. So you can do less of this and get right back to more of this. At eBay, you'll find all the parts you need, guaranteed to fit, at prices you'll love. Sounds good, doesn't it? eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Ah, fall is here. Baseball, beautiful weather, and the changing colors of trees and shrubs. When you think of your trees, call family-owned Gamma Tree Experts. Fall is a great time to prune and fertilize your valuable trees. Our staff of certified arborists will survey your trees to determine their needs. Knowledge and quality are hallmarks of our reputation. Call Gamma Tree Experts at 314-725-6159 or visit us at gammatree.com. Your trees deserve the best care.
This is Megan Lynch. 250 doctors go to Ophthalmology Associates. That's why I trust them. Ophthalmology Associates, 314-966-5000 or youridoc.com.
You know Graybar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Graybar does that.
Now, back to the Gray Bar Sports on a Sunday morning on 104.1 KMOX. From the Stifel Financial Sports Studio, here is Tom Ackerman.
Tom Ackerman is out this week. My name's Matt Pauley. Great to be with you. We have you for another 45 minutes. We've got an NFL doubleheader today. First, Giants and Eagles, and then Cowboys and Broncos coming up after that. Very happy to bring on to the program. He's one of the smartest NFL guys you can ever talk to. He is Russell Baxter. You follow him on Twitter at BAX Football Guru. Russell, thank you for taking some time with us this morning. How are you?
My pleasure, and thank you for the nice introduction. It just shows to show you that PayPal works.
Very good, very good. This is an NFL slate today that's we've had a lot of good weekends of some really good matchups. Bluntly, not as many good matchups this week. The Sunday night game between the Steelers and Packers, certainly interesting. One of our games today, Cowboys Broncos, I actually think that could be interesting. Bears Ravens with Lamar Jackson not in there. But what's your overall takeaway from the games that are going to take place today?
Well, it's the thinnest slate of games all year. You have 6 teams that are off, and some good ones that are off. In fact, very bizarre, like going back to the days when the buys first started. San Francisco's at Houston today, Matt. They're the only NFC West team playing this week. Arizona's off, Seattle's off, the Rams are off. So when you have, the NFC West, which 3 5-2 teams, and 2 of the 5-2s are not playing, that certainly puts the schedule at the dicey situation. It's all luck because these buys are determined so far in advance. It's also a week where 8 of the 13 games, and including the Chargers-Vikings game Thursday, are interconference games. So we have a couple of divisional games. In fact, we have a couple of divisional games that are rematches from early. It's the first rematches of the year, and I'm sure a lot of eyes are going to be Philadelphia and the Giants. The Giants whacked them a couple of weeks ago at MetLife Stadium. This will make you feel old. The last time the Giants swept the Eagles, any guesses?
Was Eli Manning the quarterback? Do we go that?
They certainly were, and they won the Super Bowl that year. Okay. That was 2007.
Okay.
18 years ago.
It's been a while.
So, yeah, it's a while. So I like what you said about Dallas and Denver. Denver's, they're like a roller coaster ride, a lot of thrills and chills. And as we found out last week, if you shut off the Broncos game after 3 quarters, then you didn't get your money's worth. And Green Bay and Pittsburgh, I guess, is very intriguing. It's actually 2 teams that are leading their division right now. Obviously, the caveat with Aaron Rodgers facing his former team. But like you said, it's not a slate that you're like, wow, because you're seeing matchups that you don't ordinarily see a lot of. I think one of the most intriguing games of the week is Buffalo at Carolina. The Bills have lost 2 in a row. The Panthers have won 3 in a row. The Bills suddenly can't stop the run. The Panthers suddenly can run. And last year they couldn't stop the run. So, and Sean McDermott, if you remember, he was defensive coordinator with the Panthers for years before he took the job in Buffalo. The Bills now trailing the New England Patriots in the AFC East, and the Panthers, who, by the way, have not been to the playoffs since 2017, Matt, only a game behind the Buccaneers in the NFC South.
The Panthers are starting Andy Dalton today, though. Isn't that the red flag for them?
Not necessarily, because that's who's the prominent guy right now in. Is it Bryce Young? Is it Andy Dalton? Or is it Rico Dowdell? The running back, who they got from the Cowboys, who came back and haunted the Cowboys a couple of weeks ago. The one thing about Carolina last year, Matt, even though they were 5-12, they did win 4 of their last 9 games. They turned the corner a little. But if you go back and look, their offensive line was very, very good. Top 10 according to Pro Football Focus. This year, a lot of injuries on the offensive line, but they kept all the same guys. So interchangeable pieces, and it's really paid off for them. Here's a stat about their defense. By the way, Derek Brown, who missed most of the year last year, was one of the reasons they had the worst defense in the league. How's this for a number? Last year, the Panthers gave up 179.8 yards per game on the ground. It's one of the worst averages in the history of the league, by the way. In their last 3 games, they've given up a total of 131 yards rushing.
It's a good stat. We're talking with Russell Baxter, previewing today's NFL slate. And also tomorrow, the Chiefs are going to be in action tomorrow night against Washington. Russell, to me, it's pretty remarkable that a month ago, we were looking at Kansas City as an under 500 team. They had, the 4th, 5th, 6th best odds to win the Super Bowl this year. And now all of a sudden, with a couple nice wins over the last few weeks, we're looking at them as the Super Bowl favorite and a team that's really playing well. They got a lot of injured players back, and that certainly has helped them.
Well, there's no doubt about it. And I think what gets lost in this crazy age where I think we expect all these great teams to go undefeated, okay, was you remember when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, Matt? Mm-hmm. They were 11-6. They weren't 14-3 or 15-2. In fact, they were 15-2 last year and got whacked in the Super Bowl. So if you're playing your best football at the end of the year, that's really the key. Remember when the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl as a wild card? They were 7-5 after 12 games, got hot late in the year, got hot in the playoffs, and stole a Super Bowl, for lack of a better word, as a wild card. So make sure you're playing, make sure you're healthy for the most part at the end of the year. I mean, that's why you see all these surprising results and these upsets and different things that happen in this league. This league has become more unpredictable. And, almost like college football this year, where, anybody who did the top 10 at the beginning of the year, I don't do college football rankings, my goodness. Every time you turn around, a couple of top 10 teams are getting knocked off. But that's what makes it fun. Okay, you actually have to play the games. You haven't had everybody figure it out all in advance. And it's funny. And Matt, a lot of people are guilty of this. Do you ever see people? A team gets off to a good start, and then they look at their schedule the next 4 or 5 games, and they're like, "Oh well, they could go on a 5-0 run." Mm-hmm. So then they turn around and they go on the 5-0 run, and those very same people said, well, they haven't played anybody.
That is true. That is the way we look at the league so often.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Last thing for you, if the Steelers beat the Packers, Aaron Rodgers would join a group of I guess he'd be one of 6 quarterbacks all time to have wins against every team in the league. You respect and love the history of this game so much. What does that mean? What's the for you? Where would that put Aaron Rodgers if he gets that win tonight?
I think it's more of an anomaly or anything else because if you look at the list of guys, okay, I would say they're all fairly recent. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, and it's actually 4. I misspoke. It's Favre,
that's all right.
Brady, Breeze, and Manning.
Okay, yeah, all fairly recent. And why is that? Because free agency came in the league in 1993. Years and years ago, you didn't have player movement like you do now. Remember the league went to court and lost. And that's why we have free agency the way we have it. I mean, there were I can remember there was one year, I guess, Walter Payton, I think his contract, nobody signed him. His contract expired. Because, they accused of collusion, et cetera, et cetera. It's a neat accomplishment. Don't get me wrong. Okay. But it's more of an accomplishment than more of a historic note because you didn't necessarily have the opportunity to do that, Matt, decades and decades ago, because, you kept teams together. That's why. And it's funny because that's one of the knocks for people who knock the 60s Packers and the 70s Steelers and even the 80s 49ers. Well, they had great teams and they didn't lose anybody in free agency. Well, no kidding. There was no free agency for anybody to lose players and so on. That's why you had Bradshaw with 4 rings and Bart Starr with 5 rings and Montana with 4 rings. But they didn't necessarily get the chance to play everybody back then. So, I mean, if you look at the list that you have, obviously everyone on there had to play for at least 2 teams.
He is Russell Baxter, founder of Pro Football Guru. He's so much fun to be able to talk football with. Does a lot of work with a number of the team sites on the Sports Illustrated network. Follow him on Twitter at BAX Football Guru. Russell, thank you so much for this time. Enjoy the slate, and hopefully we can catch up with you again down the line.
You got it. Look forward to it.
Awesome. Very good. That's Russell Baxter joining us here on the program. We appreciate a few moments with him. It's some interesting games today. He brought up that Panthers game, which is the one game that I had not mentioned as being games that have intrigue today. That Bears-Ravens game is interesting. I don't know. The news came out today. The NFL is going to be really looking into the Baltimore Ravens. And this kind of goes along with the news this past week when it came to the sports betting scandal. Because one of the issues with that sports betting scandal is if you have information on who's going to play and who's not going to play before it becomes public, you can get an advantage. And part of the idea with the coach, Damon Jones, the former Cleveland Cavaliers assistant coach, that he was giving information out during that time between morning shoot around and when the actual injury report came out. And that could be really, really valuable information. Well, the Ravens had listed Lamar Jackson as a full participant in practice early in the week, or actually not early in the week, on Friday, when he was actually a limited participant. Him getting ruled out and that whole thing, the way he went from being listed as a full participant to limited, had a 4-point swing in the point spread. If you have that information, that can really help you out as a gambler. And that's the last thing the NFL wants. So the NFL is actually going to be looking into the Baltimore Ravens about what went into the status being given incorrectly on Lamar Jackson. We've got more in a moment. It's Sports on Sunday Morning on KMOX.
At Ophthalmology Associates, their goal is to ensure that every one of their patients enjoys the best possible eyesight at every stage of their life. This is Rick Wallace, and I've been through several life stages with Ophthalmology Associates. I've trusted them with my eye care for almost 30 years. Doctors Birdie, Malhotra, Brusati, and Royer head up a network of leading specialists in every field of eye health. They're involved in leading-edge research and equipped with the latest technology to handle the most complex situations. And there is always personalized eye care tailored to your individual needs and preferences at Ophthalmology and Associates. Oh yeah, pediatric eye care too, and a full-service optical shop. Ophthalmology Associates. Visit youridoc.com or call 314-966-5000.
Looks like we are definitely out of the massive heat waves that we received this year, but any week when it's 90 degrees during the day and 90 degrees at night is, in St. Louis, the humidity is not comfortable, and our bills do go up. With that being said, we're coming up in the winter months, and this is the time that you want to get your furnace looked at and checked. It's inexpensive to have it looked at for your peace of mind. And this is also the time of the year where you'll hear during your furnace checkups that you have a bad heat exchanger or you need a new furnace. Call me if you hear that for a second opinion. You'll be happy you did. And it's one easy number in Missouri and Illinois. It's 314-293-2600. Or on the internet, Bart Inman, now that is Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com. And God bless.
At California Psychics, we know that when you haven't found love, it feels like everyone else has. Every movie has a love interest. Every song is a love song. Where are all the songs about cats or the joy of early bedtimes, and of course, the PDA. Looking for love sucks. Thankfully, California Psychics can give you the guidance you need to help you find the one. We connect you with the very best. In fact, 98% of the psychics who apply to work with us don't make the grade. That's why we can guarantee if your reading isn't life-changing, it's free. Download the app or connect with us at CaliforniaPsychics.com. Right now, new customers receive 20 minutes for just $20. So, you could be feeling all lovey-dovey real soon. Experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
News, talk, cards. KMOX AM St. Louis. KMOX FM Hazelwood. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Stacey Lynn. A very serious storm is expected to slam Jamaica.
You're asked to evacuate now. A bus will be coming to assist you to take you to the shelter.
Hurricane Melissa is now a Category 4 storm expected to intensify even more before making landfall tomorrow or Tuesday. CBS's Jason Allen is in Kingston.
In Kingston, workers here were boarding up a few businesses. There's been no real sense of urgency here that you sometimes feel with a major hurricane approaching. Some people admitted to us it may just be because it has been so long since a storm like this hit the island.
French police have arrested 2 suspects in the brazen jewel heist at the Louvre last weekend. The BBC's Hugh Schofield reports.
One arrest, confirmed by the prosecutor, was yesterday evening at Charles de Gaulle Airport, where the suspect was about to board a plane for Algeria. The second arrest took place in the northern Paris suburbs, from where it's reported both men came. They're said to be in their 30s and to be known to police for past acts of burglary. It seems likely that DNA and fingerprint evidence collected at the Louvre led to police identifying the suspects, who may well have been under surveillance for some days.
President Trump is in Southeast Asia and attended a ceremony today where Thailand and Cambodia signed an expanded ceasefire agreement.
We've done 8, and we're looking to do number 9, which would be Russia and Ukraine.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is on the trip with the president. He told Face the Nation a TikTok deal's getting wrapped up while they're there.
We reached a final deal on TikTok. We'd reached one in Madrid, and I believe that as of today, all the details are ironed out, and that will be for the 2 leaders to consummate that transaction on Thursday in Korea.
A shooting at a homecoming celebration at a historically black college in Pennsylvania. District Attorney Christopher de Barrena Sarabay says 1 person was killed, 6 were injured at Lincoln University.
At about 9:30, just before 9:30, that festivity was interrupted and decimated by gunfire.
A new women's baseball league has chosen 4 cities for its inaugural season. Here's CBS's Michael Wallace.
The Women's Professional Baseball League will have teams in New York, Boston, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. League co-founder Justine Siegel.
You know, our women, they love the game so much. You know, it's an obstacle to get to play, and here we are living out our dreams. So it's going to be just fantastic.
And it's a day off today for the Tied Up World Series. That moves to LA for Game 3 tomorrow. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
At 11:03, cloudy skies and 56 degrees downtown at the Gateway Arch. Good morning, I'm Scott Jagow. Our top story this hour, there was quite a scene Friday at the Central Library downtown.
St. Louis police say they arrested a homeless man for threatening to blow up the building after he was given a trespass warning and asked to leave. 21-year-old El Haj Bimju faces a Class D felony charge of making a terrorist threat, as well as felony resisting arrest and misdemeanor assault charges. Bimju allegedly threw a lit cigarette at a library security guard, then doused the person with lighter fluid before making his verbal threat. He's being held without bond pending a court appearance. Court records show Bimju served 5 days in jail for assaulting a City Foundry security guard in August. Brad Choate, KMOX News.
The Better Business Bureau is warning Missourians about a new scam called ghost tapping. It has nothing to do with Halloween, but it is scary. It involves tap-to-pay credit cards and mobile wallets. Scammers buy a tap machine, and if you don't have an RFID wallet or protection sleeve, they can just bump into you and scan your credit card. Bureau says this has been happening in large crowds at festivals and flea markets, for example. The former leader of a local nonprofit is headed to prison for stealing money meant to feed children. This week, a federal jury found 46-year-old Connie POBO of St. Charles guilty on several counts. Prosecutors allege she stole $11 million while she was an executive director of the New Heights Community Resource Center. It provides meals to low-income school-age children during the summer. The indictment accused POBO of falsely claiming to have served 3 million meals between 2019 and 2022, and the state paid her for those, but the meals were never actually purchased or supplied. Instead, she spent the money on homes for herself and relatives and a car for her boyfriend. There's a party planned Wednesday afternoon in Imperial. Grant Bissell with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department invites people to the grand opening of the new Seckman Valley substation.
You can do meet and greets with first responders and the leadership of Rock Township Ambulance District and the Sheriff's Office here. There will be police canines and their handlers. You can do a tour of emergency vehicles that will be stationed here, as well as first aid and CPR demonstrations.
Wednesday, 4:30 to 7:30. There's a ribbon cutting at 6, and the address is 3055 Lions Den Road.
KMOX AccuWeather will continue to have a good deal of clouds this afternoon with periods of rain, a high of 58. Cloudy tonight with occasional rain and a low near 50. Still could have a shower for tomorrow with a good deal of clouds, high close to 60. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Brian Thompson on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Thanks, Brian. Right now it's 56 in St. Peters. We have 58 in Florissant and 56 cloudy skies downtown. I'm Scott Jagal, KMOX News.
From KMOX Sports, this is the Gray Bar Sports on a Sunday morning. Gray Bar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. Now from the Stifel Financial Sports Studio, here is Tom Ackerman.
No Tom Ackerman this week. My name's Matt Pauley filling in. I believe Tom's going to be back next week. We are going to chat with Kevin Wheeler coming up in just a moment or so as for those of you who maybe listen to this station but don't always listen past a certain time in the day, well, Kevin and we host Rush Hour Sports together on an every weekday basis from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. So we thought we'd give you a little taste of that here, and maybe you can be tuned in for that more often during the 5 o'clock hours on weekdays. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, Mr. Pauley. How you doing?
I am good. It's good to talk to you on a weekend, in addition to what we normally do during the week. Let's just start with this World Series even 1-1. Certainly some compelling things that have happened over these first two games. That was a fun one for Toronto in game number 1, and then Yamamoto doing what he did yesterday for really a second game in a row. Just something we're not seeing right now in baseball, but it's pretty impressive.
It's pretty great, and Yamamoto obviously cost a lot of money, right? I mean, he was, $300 million sight unseen coming over from Japan. And of course that's part of the advantage that the Dodgers have, right? Like how many teams could risk the kind of money they spent on Yamamoto with no proof of performance? Nobody's ever seen him in the United States. Nobody had to do that with Shohei Ohtani as an example. He was, still an amateur free agent when he came over. But he's unbelievable. He was a little up and down his first year, not much. I mean, just a couple injuries here and there. But, I mean, he's a legit ace, man. And, to me, it proves, and I think we've talked about this, it does prove the importance of top starters in the postseason because you can ride your bullpen, but only so much. I think we're starting to learn, the more teams are doing it, Matt, that there's a tax for doing that. The more hitters see relievers and the more, hitters see the specialized relievers that are set up for them, the more success they have against them. So, to have a starter who can do that kind of thing once in a while really changes it up.
For people who don't remember, Yamamoto got a 12-year contract. He's not a free agent until 2036. It doesn't have to be a 12-year contract, but isn't that a good reminder, Kevin, that to be at the highest level and to compete at the highest level, you might need to start extending yourself out on some of these contracts longer than you would like to?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, unless things change dramatically in collective bargaining talks, yeah. I mean, the 12 is the new 10, although, it was 12 for a guy who was 25 years old. It's not going to be that for a 30-year-old, I wouldn't think. But the test is going to be out there with Tarek Skubal, right? I mean, we got a year away, and it'll be interesting because it'll be the first off season with the new collective bargaining, assuming, the season isn't wiped out or anything tragic like that. And Skubal might be the new test because he's going to be right around 30. Is he going to get 12 or is he going to get the shorter 8, 9, 10 with the higher AAV?
Yeah, it's bringing this back to the Cardinals. It's actually kind of interesting because the Cardinals have actually spoken a fair amount over the last couple of years about trying to get starters to go deeper into games. Functionally, it hasn't really happened at the big league level, but it's been at least something that they've tried. They're trying to get minor league starters to be stretched out a little bit more. This is something that's been on the Cardinals' radar, and now maybe, just maybe, we're seeing it in this year's postseason where there is going to be more value again for starting pitchers that can pitch deeper into games.
Well, you know how the copycat thing works in these leagues, right? It's not just Major League Baseball. This happens in the NFL. It happens in the NBA. It happens in hockey. Somebody starts to have success with something, and people try to replicate it. They try to figure out how they can do their version of it, right? So the Dodgers have been able to spend a ton of money on high-end talent pitching, the guys that are big strikeout guys, but also guys with health risks, right? Snell had been up and down with injuries, and Glasnow's been hurt a lot. So, but they can take those risks. Other teams can't, which is where the balance comes in. But I think a lot of teams better get themselves ready for the risk. If you're going to be signing Paul Skeens when he's a free agent, you're probably looking at 12 years because he's going to be in his mid-20s or maybe 26, 27. So you're looking at, that not definitely becoming the standard for those 20-something free agents for sure.
The Toronto story and 1-1 going back to Los Angeles, but the fact that they were able to hit home runs the other night in that 9-run 6th inning, they got a pinch hit grand slam. That's the first time that's happened in World Series history. It just goes back to prove if you want to win in the postseason, you got to have guys who can hit bombs.
You got to have the guys who hit bombs, and there's been a lot of buzz about how the Blue Jays take tough at bats. Which is true. They absolutely do. They grind out at bats. They don't get greedy. They take what the pitcher gives them. And that's all great. But, there have also been some really great stories the last few days, Matt, and I'm sure you've seen them, that show how on average, almost every hitter on the Blue Jays is swinging the bat harder than they used to. They've all improved their bat speed. So, what allows you to compete, right? What allows you to be able to still get to the fastball and have the breaking ball or the off speed in mind? Well, the bat speed is what can make up that difference, right? If you're going to be recognizing a little later, you got to have something that makes up some of that time. And I find that to be a fascinating part of this, that, people are talking about how it's an old school team because they don't just give in to the strikeout and they grind. But part of the reason they're able to do that is the new school training of how to pick up bat speed in a short amount of time.
That's Kevin Wheeler. If you enjoyed this conversation, we encourage you to be tuned in every single day during the 5 o'clock hour for Rush Hour Sports, where Kevin and I talk a lot of baseball, a few other things as well, but a lot of baseball on an every weekday basis. Kevin, thanks for taking a few moments. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, buddy. Have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, very good. That is Kevin Wheeler. Of course, he's part of the Dave Glover Show as well here on KMOX. We'll take a break, and when we return, we'll wrap up with Cardinals President of Baseball Operations, Chaim Bloom. He joins us for his weekly conversation in just a moment here on KMOX.
104.1 FM, KMOX. News, talk, sports.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. And that's what you get with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. With more than 45 years' experience serving its members, United Healthcare has plans with low monthly premiums that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage Missouri can count on.
If you need a new garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are now open for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. The winner will be chosen at random to receive $5,000 towards new garage doors, openers, or front entry doors of their choice. Deadline to enter is the end of the month to win the $5,000 sweepstakes with Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Enter now at overheaddoorsstlouis.com. You can't win if you don't enter at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
this month's Siteman Cancer Center Spotlight, we are discussing breast cancer with Dr. Debbie Bennett.
It's a great reminder to take care of yourself. I think people are so busy throughout the year taking care of everybody else. Seeing all the pink around in October is a really excellent time to take a step back and make sure that you are here to continue taking care of everybody else for a very long time.
Thanks to Siteman Cancer Center, national leaders in cancer. For more information, visit siteman.wustl.edu.
Hi, I'm Jim Brennan with McKelvey Homes. This is your last chance to live in a brand new home at The Preserve, located at Mackenzie and Watson Roads. We have 5 outstanding homes ready for move-in at amazing prices and special financing as low as 4.75%. Choose from ranch or 1.5-story homes backing to woods. Our luxurious Turnberry display is now for sale. Also, get up to $10,000 in free closing costs. Isn't it time to move up to McKelvey?
KMOX Weekend at Your Service, sponsored by Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation.
Glover here from my friends at Cantor Injury Law. Cantor is local, and we're here doing the work every day. We're right here in St. Louis, and we're ready to fight for you. CantorInjuryLaw.com or call 314-628-9999.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be solely based on advertisements.
Hey, just check the mail. We've been invited to a seminar, and dinner is free.
It's going to be chicken, and it'll taste like Play-Doh.
Don't be fooled. All seminars are not the same. For example, Steve All, an investment advisor representative and founder of the All Financial Group, will be hosting his Taxes and Retirement Seminar at his office in Chesterfield on October 28th. From the big beautiful bill to taxes on your Social Security, Steve will not only cover the hurdles you'll face in retirement, but ways to keep more money in your pocket and less in Uncle Sam's. This is a complimentary event, but seating is limited, so reserve your seat today. Call 636-230-8824 or online at yourmoneymattersstl.com.
You know, hon, I've always been interested in us buying a timeshare.
I'd rather eat Play-Doh.
Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC IPW, or registered investment advisor. Neither the firm nor its agents or representatives may give tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a qualified professional for guidance before making any purchasing decisions.
Now, back to the Gray Bar Sports on a Sunday morning on 104.1 KMOX. From the Stifel Financial Sports Studio, here is Tom Ackerman.
Tom is out this week. My name is Matt Pauley. Great to have you with us. You normally hear me hosting Sports Open Line and also Rush Hour Sports weekdays between 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock, but happy to be with you a little earlier in the day today, and very happy to welcome onto the show for his weekly conversation. He is the Cardinals president of baseball operations. He is Chaim Bloom. Good morning, Chaim. How are you?
Hi, Matt. I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I am good. It's good to be able to talk with you. Do you, during this time, free agency hasn't hit yet. That opens up a handful of days after the World Series. Are you able to just sit back and enjoy watching the World Series, or is it more kind of always being in work mode even when watching games?
Well, certainly right now we're in work mode with just stepping into the role and having a number of things we want to do operationally and on the staffing side. That's definitely occupying a lot of time. And frankly, throughout the industry, that really, if you're not fortunate enough to be still playing right now, if you haven't earned that privilege, then you end up really being in HR season, so to speak, regardless of where you are. I think it's a little more right now just because it's my first off season in this role. Once in a while, managed to catch a little bit of playoff baseball. Did happen to watch game 2 last night with my kids, who really enjoy the game. But candidly, when you're not in it, it's just kind of a motivator to get to work and try to do better.
The Toronto Blue Jays are interesting because they're a 74-win team last year. They're in the World Series this year after a fantastic regular season. I was just talking with Kevin Wheeler a moment ago, and he brought up the fact that one of the things that a lot of hitters this year for Toronto did was really improve bat speed, and that is something that's helped them out. Is that a good lesson that even at the major league level, you can do things to help players get better and get better in an impactful way?
100%. I think it's something that the industry as a whole has gotten a lot better at over the last 5-10 years, is understanding that you can move the needle on players more than we used to think when my career started, that there are different ways to do that, even with players who may appear fully developed, and that also that development can't stop at the big leagues. If you're on a big league staff and you don't see yourself really as just the next level in this development system, then you're just passing up an opportunity to get players better. So that's certainly something that
we feel. It's something I think the industry's gotten a lot better on, and it's something where we want to continue to step up our game.
This coaching staff has a lot of development and coaching background. How important is that for your organization to have that at the major league level?
I think it helps with continuity up and down. In 2024, when I was doing my work analyzing our minor league system, I didn't just talk to people who were coaching in the system right now. I was able to talk to some of our big league staff who coached, managed, played, in Ollie's case, all three within our system. And that was really helpful. It's good not just to get a perspective on the present, but also get a perspective on the past. And sometimes when people have been in an arena and then they step outside of it, even if they're still in the organization, but they're in a different part of the organization, just gives them good perspective on it.
We're talking with Cardinals President of Baseball Operations, Chaim Bloom. You talked about it when you got hired, and you just alluded to it a moment ago. From a staffing standpoint, there's stuff to do. You also talked about the process of it, and last year adding some individuals, this year adding some individuals. Can you give kind of an update on where that's at, and once everything is in place, how much more robust maybe the organization will be in terms of human capital?
Yeah, last year we were able to start revamping the player development and performance departments, which we did by adding a number of staff at the coordinator and director level, and of course the assistant GM level with Surf. That isn't done in those two departments. We're really in the process of it now, where we're going to be moving some things around and adding some people in those departments still, just to keep us on the path that we want to go down of just making sure we can serve our players and improve our players as much as possible. And we've also started to look at some other areas of the organization where we have a chance to make improvements. That's part of how I tried to spend this past year, was just get to know the rest of the organization. This is really more something right now where, granted, there's always going to be some change, and there's always going to be a few people here or there that may not return, and some people that may move around, but really it's more about adding talent. And so we're in the process of doing that now. And hopefully as we get deeper into the off season, I don't know that you ever feel like you're done, but hopefully we get deeper in the off season where we reach some kind of stopping point where we can say, this is our crew for 2026 and let's roll forward. But it's exciting to have the chance to do that, exciting to get the support from ownership to do that. And just to continue on this path of having, continuity from within the organization and people who have been here who can continue to showcase their talents and hopefully do that in new ways, and then add bright minds and new ideas from the outside.
Is there a sweet spot when it comes to a coaching staff on how many people need to be there? The individuals have been added. We see some of these coaching staffs in Major League Baseball that seemingly have too many guys. Like, how do you and Ollie go about figuring out just how many people and the roles that you want for the different individuals?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I don't know that there's one perfect answer. You just have to find out what works for you. What's that right mix of making sure you have all the necessary support and the right voices in the room without having so many voices that people are tripping over each other or that messages get muddy. Cardinals have always been on the leaner side, and we are in growth mode, but we still want to make sure that everything we do is with a purpose, that we're not just trying to throw bodies at a problem that oftentimes doesn't help. And it just leads to waste down the road. And like I said, it can lead to mixed messages, but trying to make sure we do add the capacities that we need to be able to compete.
A few more minutes with Cardinals President of Baseball Operations, Chaim Bloom. St. Louis probably led the world in the last 2 weeks on people Googling Hagelin's deformities, which is what Lars Nootbaar had. It's a heel issue. There was a surgery that went along with it. And over the last week or so, there's been a lot of people trying to figure out what that's going to look like for Nootbaar long term. I know you guys are there's no set timeline at this point, but are you able to share at least a little bit on what that looks like and your hopes for Nootbaar going into next year?
Yeah, for sure. I had to Google it myself a few weeks ago. So anybody who also had to do the same, unless they're an orthopedic surgeon, probably shouldn't feel that bad. It is something where this particular type of surgery, there's not a lot you can find as far as a track record within baseball players, although there have been some before. And there is an extensive track record of this in some other sports. So it's really something that the procedure itself at this point is pretty routine for a professional athlete. The timetable is really the biggest question mark in a sense, which is why we didn't put one out. But that said, this is something ultimately we hope this actually leads to be more of a solution for some of what has plagued Newt in terms of his running speed and just not being able to move around like he used to. Certainly at the outset, you got to make sure you're coming back from this right, and we don't want to rush the process at any point. But this is something where we've seen this a lot. You see offensive linemen get it, you see baseball players get it, you see basketball players get it, and there's a pretty well-worn path of coming back. We're definitely not wanting to rush this, but certainly optimistic with it. We have not ruled out opening day for him to be ready. I think if you ask him, he'll tell you he will be. We're going to make sure he gets the requisite spring training buildup. So if it gets into the season a little bit, we're prepared for that because we don't want to rush him, but we haven't ruled out him being ready at the outset. And I think he will tell you that he can.
Are you able to speak to how much it actually impacted him this past year?
Well, we won't know till we're really on the other side of it, but it does make some sense when you think about sprint speed and his defense, regressing, and then just seeing him move around at times. He did not look like the Newt of old. And when you get into some of the irritation he was feeling, really in both heels, and that Achilles being aggravated, it all kind of adds up to where this may have been more of an aggravating factor than I think anybody knew at the time. Obviously, knowing the history he has and the pride he wanted to take in going wire to wire, I think this is something he wanted to gut out. But how much it impacted him, certainly stands to reason it could have, and may have made it harder to battle through some of the other things he was trying to battle through. Because if your base, if your foundation is affected, it really affects you all the way up the chain.
Last thing for Chaim Bloom, since we're talking about injuries, the Brendan Donovan situation where the injury started kind of a small deal that he tried to play through, and then that moved up to the groin, and then all of a sudden that turns into sports hernia. When you and Oliver Marmol get to a point where you're talking through guys playing through injuries or guys taking a seat, what does that look like? Because there's going to be guys who want to play through things, but at the same time, there's a scenario where if you play kind of the way it happened seemingly with Donovan.
Yeah, that's also relevant, obviously, or may have been relevant. You can't know for sure, potentially with Lars also. Something you got to bear in mind. I mean, this is a game where obviously it's an everyday sport. No one's 100% at the end of the season. So if you're saying, hey, someone's not 100%, they shouldn't play, you'd have nobody out there for any club because you really aren't 100% except on opening day, and sometimes even not then. It's just what the sport requires is you do play through some aches and pains. And a lot of players appropriately so take pride in doing that. If you're not available, you can't help. The question is, when does it become self-defeating? When does it actually hurt you in the long run? There's some science to that. There's also some judgment to that. I think from a front office perspective, obviously, we want to make sure we're having the right conversations, making sure the right voices are at the table to have those in the right way. And I know that that's something that even from the seat I was in this past year, I know those conversations do go on. So it's always something that everybody's talking about, and you want players to play and you want to let them play when they want to play. I think also from our seat as a front office, the deeper we can be, the more good options we can give our manager, both on the 26-man roster and within the system, then it's easier to give guys rest. Then nobody feels, including the players, like if I don't get out there, I'm really hurting the team. If you have other options to keep guys fresh, to give guys a blow from time to time, it just makes all that easier.
Chaim Bloom is the president of baseball operations of the St. Louis Cardinals. Chaim, thank you so much for taking the time. Have a wonderful week, and we really do appreciate you spending a few moments with us.
Sounds good, Matt. Thanks, and have a great week.
All right, very good. That's Chaim Bloom joining us, Cardinals president of baseball operations. Again, I think the thing that we take away from that conversation more than anything else, because there's been a lot of social media speculation this past week about Lars Nootbaar's injury and how long he's going to be out, does not sound like it's going to threaten his upcoming season. Opening day is not off the table. It is not a guarantee for Nootbaar, but it is not off the table. It all depends on how the rehab process goes this offseason. So we'll be talking about a lot when we get to spring training here in just a few months. That's going to do it for sports on a Sunday morning. Thanks to Tom Ackerman for letting me come in and fill in for him. Thanks to James O'Sullivan, our producer, who did a great job. We've got NFL football on the way next. First Giants, Eagles, then Broncos, Cowboys right here on KMOX.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance.